What's up? It's hashtag Ask Lauren. Okay, so we're gonna do all the spiritual questions in a little roundup version. So questions relating to manifestation, law of attraction, meditation. There's a few of them. They've been piling up. So I thought I would address them. So here we go. Jacob Salem asked if I ever vibe with trees and animals and nature in general. I find it's a normal thing for me to share vibes and thoughts with them and receive vibes too. From a male Torontonian who's almost not a teen, thanks for doing what feels right to you. I can feel that and it helps me. Wow. Thank you, Jacob. The fact that you can vibe with trees and nature and things like that, I think is so cool. I think I would say that I do too, and I always have. I think all of us really feel more at home and grounded in nature. Being in nature naturally grounds you to the earth and grounds you, gets you back into your center. That's something you can try to do and you are doing during meditation, but I think if you can just go on a walk, take a trip in nature, it's sort of rejuvenating. And that actually happened to me. I noticed as I went camping this past weekend and I actually stayed off social media. I mean, I really was relaxed. I wasn't working and I was in nature and I felt like it revived me and gave me so much more energy. Since I've been back, I've been like a different person. And if you've been watching all my videos, I mentioned recently how unmotivated I was, how much of a lack of energy I've been experiencing. And I think honestly, the computer that I sit in front of all day long working, editing these videos and doing other social media things and whatnot literally sucks the life out of me. And I need to make more of a point to go back into nature, to take walks throughout the day, to bike down to the lake, sit by the water, whatever. And I think at the same time though, as somebody who does feel vibes or energy quite strongly, and I feel very energetically exhausted when I'm in the city, I've noticed, it's important to sort of ground yourself before you are going out into like the madness that is Toronto or anywhere. And sometimes I think, going further away from the city is actually what rejuvenated me. Sometimes I find it hard to go to the lake or go to the High Park in Toronto because I can still feel that like buzz of the noise from being still in the city. The fact that you feel those vibes strongly is really cool, and you should definitely, keep paying attention to that and keep connecting with that, because it's not crazy at all to say that you talk to nature or trees or animals or anything like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure I talk to animals on a spiritual level, and I don't necessarily have that with trees, but I do feel that trees give off a certain type of energy, and you feel better around plants. Speaking of which, I now live in this house that has so much space, and I'm trying to accumulate more plants, which is something I never did in my small spaces because I didn't feel like I had the room. And I really am trying to get more green in here. And I freaking love this tree. I think this is a money tree. Brings good luck. And just having it in this room, I've been coming into this room more because there's plants in here. And so I'm going to get more. I'm growing one over here by the window. And anyway, so that is definitely a connection. And if you can make that connection, then I would say you're pretty, connected and kind of ahead of people who just think nature is just whatever and take it for granted. I mean, I really don't think we should. We all come from the same energy as everything in nature, so we should be feeling drawn to it. Okay, Katrina had asked me this. She said, have you ever heard of human design system? Do you think it's legit or just a bunch of people looking for a way to control our minds? I replied to her and I was like, oh my God, I've never heard of this, but then I was super into it. And I still don't really know much about it. But I will link these websites below. One's called mybodygraph.com. It basically gives you a human design body graph interpretation, and you have to type in your birth date and your time of birth. And if you don't know your exact time of birth, I think you just need to know, like, was it morning or night? And then you can just put 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. Because within like a few hours, it's fine. But if you know your exact birth time, that would be more helpful. And then you get this interesting chart. And then what's funny is after Katrina told me this, and I looked it up that night, and I was super into it, and I was like reading more about it. Anyway, a few days later, my friend, I was out for dinner with them, and she brought it up have you heard of human design system? And I was like, I just heard about it. And she mentioned that she has this like astrologer who did a human design system reading for her, and he studies human design system and knows all about it. So he knows how to interpret these graphs because they are a little confusing. And it's like a mixture of things like quantum physics, astrology, Buddhism, Kabbalahism, all these things combined. I mean, somebody essentially just made it up, but I think if you believe in astrology and whatever, all this kind of stuff, I feel like, I don't know, I was super drawn to it and connected to it as soon as I looked it up, and I feel like there's a lot to be learned there. I still haven't booked a session with this astrologer, but I think I'm going to, and what he can do is even a relationship session, so he can look at my graph and John's human design system graph, and then can like talk about how we communicate and how we, whatever, get along and interact with each other for it to be more beneficial based on how we're designed and what like our like habits and things are. So this is my graph. So like you have these centers. I don't even think they're based on the chakras. I think they're different centers. And sometimes if you're in a relationship, the other person might fill in these centers that you don't have in your system activated. And so anyway, it looks like that between John and I. It's like John's centers are activated up here and mine are not. So I wonder, anyway, I can't read it, I don't understand it, and I've only just started looking into it, so I'm not really even explaining it that well. I only know very vague information about it. Thanks, Katrina, for letting me know about that. And no, I don't think it's a bunch of people looking for a way to control our minds. I think we come from stars and energy and the same energy that's in the universe. So it only makes sense that when we were born, we were exactly set up to come into this life when we were. And I think that's why human design system maybe makes sense, because somebody spent a lot of time doing all of the research to kind of figure out the way the world was at the time of your birth. And I believe in astrology. Other people have asked if I believe in astrology, and every time I read my thing, which is Scorpio, it's always like exact to a T. And I just think that that stuff has got to be true. I don't think it's mumbo jumbo at all. So yeah, Montana Chalmers asked, what's your opinion on astrology? Totally believe it. I told you I'm a Scorpio. And John, you are asking, John is a Virgo Libra cusp, September 22nd. He's more Libra. I think 22nd actually is the cusp date, but he's more of a Libra. These books are pretty cool. This is The Secret Language of Relationships, and it's like all based on astrology. It's very thick. There's also one about sex, I think. And based on this, it says John and I are not compatible only as friends, but we're not compatible in a relationship. And I, at the same time, I'm like, well, I don't think that that's entirely true. I think there are some generalizations probably within astrology. Like, we're not like the best partnership as it says here, but I think people of different astrological signs can make anything work, because I think there's a lot of different components, not just when you were born, that dictate your compatibility. Okay, so do I live by astrology? No. Am I interested in it? I'm curious to read more about it? Yes. Whenever anybody talks about stuff like that, like, I definitely want to be part of the conversation because I find it so fascinating. Kaj Sarl said, I'm wondering if you've ever tested any kind of psychedelic drug, since they often can have very spiritually positive effects. Would you like to share your experiences if you have any, or your general view on psychedelics? So I may have mentioned, I did mention in my recent video where I talked about aliens and my alien experiences and thoughts, I told you the little story about what seems like a lot of information about ayahuasca keeps coming into my sphere, and then people have left comments saying, ayahuasca's calling you and that's what happens, and I'm still not sure about that, but again, more messages have come up in other things that I don't really want to get into about why I should do it, and I'm still not convinced, so I'm not sure. I think I'm just afraid, and I think part of why I'm hesitant is because it's so trendy right now to talk about it and do it, that I'm like doubting whether or not these sort of calls or pulls toward it are actually true, or if I'm just hearing so much about it. And anyway, whenever you're doubting, that's your mind and not your intuition. And really the whole thing about like meditation and intuition and getting messages and all these kinds of things is about just trusting what's coming up, not attaching like ego mind to it or thinking mind to it and trying to convince yourself that what you feel and see or whatever is false, that you're making it up, because you're not making it up. And it's whatever that first impulse that you think of, that's your gut and that's your instinct. So I am being called, but I'm still not ready and I'm not there yet. So I guess I'm open to it in the sense like if it makes sense and in the moment and I'm flowing to it and it's flowing to me to do it, but I'm not like actively seeking out to have some type of psychedelic experience or do anything like that for the purpose of becoming more enlightened or anything like that. I think for me, it's more, I have unresolved past issues and maybe past life issues and emotional issues that I can't seem to let go of here, now, right, like this. And, you know, I do all kinds of things like manifesting the outcome that I want and other self work and practices that I do in meditation. And part of me thinks, well, maybe having that experience of ayahuasca will take over and help me release that or see something that I'm missing that I can't quite process in this realm, which is what it's supposed to do. And so maybe it's in my cards, maybe it's not, I'm not sure. I'll keep you posted. Have I ever done any other psychedelics? No, but I also explained in that alien video. Did I? Oh no, I explained in a live stream video that I did. If you watch my last live stream vlog, I told the story about how I got super high on marijuana recently and by accident, and I had what was kind of like a hallucinogenic psychedelic experience because the weed that I smoked was really high in THC. And that was enough for me to be like, this is why I don't do any other drugs, because my brain is crazy. Anyway, so no, I haven't, and I don't care if other people do, but historically, like, you know, the more ancient spiritual practitioners did do natural psychedelics to get them to that place. But I feel like in this new wave of new age thing, nobody's really talking about psychedelics, except then there is the party that does talk about psychedelics, but in the mainstream, they don't talk about it, except for ayahuasca now is the thing. Because I've never really fallen into a crowd that does drugs, so like talking about drugs or doing drugs isn't something that is part of my life. And so I have a fear around it, and probably even a judgment around it about how, because if I smoke weed, which I have and used to a lot more often as a younger person, I felt like a dumbass and my brain was fried, and ultimately I don't know that doing stuff is good for you. The same as drinking alcohol, which I do drink alcohol. And so I'm not really sure how I feel about substances as a whole. Like, I'm kind of just easy about it. Like, I don't have these hard and fast rules. But anyway, I'm really confused and don't know what I'm saying. So yeah, I guess that's my final answer. Alana said, I have yet another question for Ask Lauren about manifestation and the law of attraction. I'm like one of the most negative humans sometimes, and my anxiety doesn't help. But just recently I've been trying to be more positive and manifest things that I want instead of telling myself that they're impossible. The only thing is I've been really horrible financially. I've had horrible financial problems, and it seems like I get 2 steps ahead and something knocks me back 10. How do you suggest manifesting something to do with your financial situation? I've just been having a hard time differentiating being positive in terms of my financial life, but finding it really difficult whenever I look at my bank account and am slapped with reality. Ugh. Okay, well, I have a video that I'll link here and below that is actually about manifesting money and some of the stuff that I've learned along the way about that. But manifestation isn't different for money versus relationships versus anything else you want in your life. It's all the same. And basically there is resistance built up around money for you and your beliefs in money. You may have what author Louise Hay calls poor mentality. I think that's what she calls it. You keep manifesting no money because your focus is on how little money you have. So that's the whole thing. When it comes down to it, just like anything, to drop the resistance is you have to get to a good place where you are grateful for the money that you do have. And when you do look at your bank account, when you look at the number, this is what I read before too, is you should actually log into your bank account online every day and look at that number. And no matter what it is, be grateful for it and also visualize it as a larger number. But the difference is a visualization for what you do want and an appreciation of what is currently happening. Not being like, oh, I can't believe there's no money in here. I wish it was this. That's resistance. That's keeping you stuck. And so you just have to work at that. This is the thing you're stuck around right now, is financial stuff. And also you have to start thinking about these other so-called beliefs that you might have about money. For me, something I had to work on was that being rich means you're a jerk, or that you're a dick, or that you're selfish. This mentality around money means you're a piece of crap, or that you can't be a spiritual, connected, centered person. That's not true. And so you got to start sorting through and writing down what are these ingrained beliefs, negative beliefs that I have about finances and money, because those are what's keeping you stuck in this pattern where you think you get a little further ahead and then you end up just going back to where you were because you're not really breaking down what these beliefs are. And these are just thoughts that you chronically think all the time. Beliefs are just thoughts that you think all the time. Change your thoughts. Sounds easier than it is, but it actually is very easy. So pay attention to that internal dialogue and the things that you're chronically thinking over and over again, and the things you're telling yourself, the things that you think you believe about money and your finances and your current state of life. At the same time, you can't focus on what is here and now present. You cannot focus on the fact that your bank account is empty or that you can't pay your bills. You have to focus on what it is you do want at the same time, and start replacing that dialogue or that thought with those things that you actually want. Also, start listening to Abraham Hicks. If you put Abraham Hicks money or finances, you'll hear her talking about all kinds of things. And this will help you just get in the right state of mind, and listen to it when you wake up in the morning. That's what I do. I did have, I would say, all of these so-called ingrained limiting patterns of beliefs around money, and I've worked on them recently in the last couple of years, and things have transformed. I started making more money. I found more financial freedom and abundance. I own a home. All of these kinds of things that I used to think I could never achieve because I grew up poor or whatever, or my family doesn't own property and things like this. You have to start breaking that shit down, because it's gonna keep you in this pattern of stuckness. So I hope that helps. I also might have, and I'll add some in my recommended playlist on this channel, lots of Abraham stuff and lots of things, and I'll add some if they're not already there about money. Now, Diana said, can you manifest things for other people? Now, I replied in the comments, but I thought I should talk about this. I basically said, you can send prayers and energy and intentions and love onto somebody, but you can't really change, you can't really control anyone else's feelings that they have about themselves. So it's about their own state of mind and their own thoughts, and how you behave in relation to somebody else may manifest a change in their behavior, but it sometimes just comes down to your own perspective and mentality. So once you start focusing on positive aspects about somebody, you're now able to see them in a new way, and maybe they don't bother you so much. So I don't know exactly what you want to manifest for somebody else, but at the end of the day, like, let's say you want to manifest them being rich. Well, you can't really do that for them, because like I said in the last question, it really comes down to what do they believe about abundance and finances and so-called being rich. So no. So you can always send good vibes to people. That certainly helps from an energetic perspective, and maybe nudging somebody in the right direction. Here's how we're gonna end this. Luelle said, I hope my question isn't going to sound rude or aggressive. That is not my intention. I'm just curious because I found out about manifesting, and I'm wondering whether sometimes you think it's a selfish way of thinking. I would think that if everything happens for a reason, it would work on a greater scale, not only in my own little life. How can I expect the universe to listen to me and give me what I truly want when I am already very lucky, while some people in the world are starving and living in wars, etc.? Some people just don't get the same chance at life as others, and I just don't see how those terrible things fit into the theory of manifestation. Is it all serving a greater purpose? And I would like to get your input on this. Sorry for the long, complicated question. Hope you understand what I mean. And you are from France. Hello. So this is obviously a very well-worded question, Luelle, so thank you. And I see in the comments a lot of people trying to counteract what I say or what I believe in, and that's totally fine, because it is within, okay, now I'm going to sound like Abraham, but this is what I know to be true, and I heard Abraham say it, and I was like, that's what I've always thought. I just didn't know anyone else thought that, or that it was universally true. But even you combating me and trying to poke holes in the law of attraction, which is law and really are no holes, there are none, that contrast, Abraham says, the contrast is what helps you create more of what you want. So by seeing things you do not like, or experiencing things you do not enjoy, or have a problem with, or whatever, is all helping perpetuate some momentum around what you actually want to happen. And in order to kind of know what I believe on like a grander sense with the problems of the world, or the so-called problems of the world, I have found it helpful to listen to Abraham, because like I said, they've been able to say it in a way that I always thought, but I didn't think I could say it out loud because it might sound crazy or selfish or whatever from the point of view of misunderstanding what I'm trying to say. But anyways, I'm just gonna have to hold my own ground and say what I believe and not worry about it, because there are other people out there who hear what I say, who resonate with it, who know it to be true in their hearts, and they too didn't have a way of articulating it. And now I'm exposing you to these things, and I'm telling you about Abraham, and I'm helping you along on your journey just the way other people have helped me along on my journey. Is it a selfish way of thinking? Well, it depends what you believe to be selfish, because ultimately you are here to be selfish. And I don't mean selfish in like a shitty, selfish, jerk, sociopathic way. I mean selfish like, you are all that matters. You, me, right now to me is all that matters. Me and my higher self, the reason that I'm on this planet. Yes, I am here to be selfish, to figure out why I'm here and what my purpose is, and follow my journey and follow those impulses and enjoy life and help people and enjoy things and create. What Abraham says and what the whole law of attraction and manifestation, or the secret is about co-creating. We're all here co-creating this existence and this planet that we live on. And to doubt or to question or to poke holes in why anything's happening doesn't really make sense. And that's if you start looking at it from a very broad perspective. Everything is happening for a reason. There really is no such thing as good and bad. We've just labeled what's good and what's bad and what's this and what's that. And I know devastating things happen all the time. And it's not that I don't care, that I don't feel anything. Of course I do. But I don't know, I'm even afraid to say this because people when I talked about my thoughts on the world, I was essentially saying this, and a lot of people came back with counteractive points and arguments about, but at the end of the day, I also think you just don't get what I'm saying. And I can't expect everybody to get what I'm saying, and I can't expect everybody to understand what I'm saying because I'm not necessarily that articulate. And perhaps there is a little bit of resistance from me in wanting to say the full truth about what I believe because I don't want to be judged. But anyways, I look at things from this very big perspective that no matter how awful something seems, there is a general greater purpose for why it's happening. And what Abraham would say is the reason for that thing happening is so that you can decide, or collectively we can all decide, we don't want that to happen again. What do we want to happen? Let's focus on that. Let's not focus on the here and now, this physical thing that we like to fixate on about how awful it is or how unjust it is or how unfair it is or whatever. But focus on what the outcome, what the greater picture, greater purpose, bigger picture thing that we want is. And if we can collectively start doing that, and we can start becoming more mindful and centered and grounded and connected to ourselves, you and your higher self, be selfish, that will actually have a much bigger resonating effect energetically on the collective. That's what I believe. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing here talking to you right now. And I'm getting emotional about it. So I respect, sorry if I sounded rude or aggressive because I don't mean to. I respect everybody questioning me or asking questions or being curious or posing these sort of devil's advocate type stances, and I will respond to ones that I feel are valid, and I will ignore the other ones that I think are just rude and not open-minded to other perspectives. At the end of the day, I'm open to other perspectives, but also at the end of the day, I know what is true, sort of universally true in my heart, and I've now found other people saying what I've always known to be true, but I just didn't know that it was. So I think that's a good way to end all the spiritual questions here. I'm gonna go cry now because I'm very overwhelmed. I don't know why, but just get it out. Abraham says crying is the letting go of resistance. So what am I resistant about here? Probably speaking my ultimate truth for fear of judgment. I tried to do it, but I'm caught up in something here. So anyways, I hope that I mean, this is all, you listening to me is part of your bigger picture and your journey if you're listening to this and it makes sense to you. Even if it doesn't make sense to you and you're pissed at me for saying something, it's still part of your journey and it's still part of your greater purpose. So start thinking about these things. I think being really self-aware and trying to connect to that higher self that you have is the most important thing you can do. And if that's what being selfish is, then so be it. So anyways, I'm just going to go now. Thanks for listening and for watching, and keep watching, and there's more to come next week. On a lighter, more superficial note, I will be giving you a closet tour on Monday and showing you some of the dresses and outfits that I have lined up or have to decide on for YouTube Fan Fest coming up next weekend. So if that's more your speed, not this heavy shit, then tune in on Monday. Okay, bye. Love you.